And we are on live, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us. It's someone here with me, very special person. You have met him before last year on the 27th of November 2021 at the International Summit. Vince Belito is our special guest today, and we are live from Singapore. It is 11:22 a.m. Today is the 12th of November 2022, and the year has zipped past. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Have you accomplished what you needed to accomplish this year, what you've planned out for? Vince is with me today. We have set out to write a book together with some authors, and we are completing the book. And today, I'd like to welcome him about his chapter, what he writes. In the chapter, Gold Nuggets for Entrepreneurs, and the book Gold Nuggets for Entrepreneurs is going to be available soon. Look out for it. Probably it's going to be together with Prince Harry's book when it's released eventually. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. We're going to talk to Vince and ask Vince, how is he? Where is he from? How is the weather there? It's about 32 degrees Celsius here. Really, really warm, and we use Celsius. Here we use the matrix in Singapore. I think it's really, really warm. You can actually just wear your slippers, put on your singlet to go to the beach, to walk to the beach still. So welcome to tropical country Singapore, the hub of Asia, this part of the world, the heart of Indo-Pacific. Vince, how are you? And tell me where you're from right now, Vince.
Thanks, Vicky. I'm glad to be here. And I am from Miami, Florida. That's where I was born. So I'm familiar with tropical weather and warm weather, and it's just beautiful. I was there living on the beach, not in Miami, but in Pompano Beach area, a little bit north of Miami, for the last 10 years that I was there in Florida. Been traveling around a bit the last few months, but definitely resonate with the warm weather and bathing suit attire.
Yes, bathing suit attire. Now, Vince, you are one of the writers, and
Yes.
You've written a very beautiful book. And the book
Thank
is
you.
called Self-Mastery. You know, when I was doing a preliminary pre-release brochures, and I was thinking that you could write the book and it could be a bestseller, because it's self-mastery, high performance, and unstoppable success. Anyone would take that book out from the shelf at the Times bookstore here in Singapore. Tell us about this book. It's really compelling. I love that.
Yes.
And I think you could go on unstoppable writing, but we've got to keep within your number of pages. Now, Vince, tell us about yourself, and then tell us about the chapters and the bullet points in it, and what are the takeaways.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Also, thank you for your heart. And I really know all the time and effort and energy you're putting into this, and all the people you're bringing together, and how much life you're giving to everyone by giving them this opportunity. It's just, you're networking, you're just really generous. And I think it's important that everybody understands who you are, because I've been able to experience that from the first time of meeting you. So thank you for this. And yeah, it's a real pleasure. So I'm Vince Belito. I'm a trauma-informed coach, and I specialize in empowering people with radical self-love, communication skills to repair and enrich their relationships, and also the ability to break free from stubborn blocks in the subconscious mind, emotions, body, and within their habits, which then allows people to effortlessly and more effectively achieve their authentic goals and dreams. That's really what I'm about. But even more than that, my main objective, my kind of secret agenda, but I'm going to make it not so secret, is to really lead people into the direct experience of what I would call true self-realization, which is who and what they truly are, essentially right now, right here at their core. And that's something that's very near and dear to my heart, because I had that awakening after a difficult journey in life, and I was seeking answers to life's biggest questions, and something opened up in me, and I became aware of this wonderful presence of life that is my life, that is everyone's life. And after realizing that, how beautiful it is, I was like, how can I share this with others? And I get into some of that in the book. And my chapter of the book, the full title is The Invincible Entrepreneur, the Inner Game of Self-Mastery, High Performance, and Unstoppable Success. And the very first section of the book after the intro is Hidden Power and Hidden Problems. And so I was alluding to that hidden power just now, that inner essential self, the true self, which is beyond the individual, the limitations of the individual, the challenges of the individual. There is a power that we can obviously see that drives everything in this universe. Every organism, every person, every living thing, every breathing thing, every inert thing comes out of something that we could just call life force. You can call it God, you can call it whatever, but there seems to be something driving things into existence and moving things through existence. So that power is something that we're going to be exploring inside of that chapter. And the hidden problems refers to those invisible factors that keep us stuck, things that I had to discover the hard way after years of suffering. And in the book, I get into a little bit of my story about my traumatic background, witnessing my mother be abused at the age of 10, which then led me to try and compensate for that pain and that sense of inferiority by getting involved with gangs, crime, violence, and drugs and drug dealing. And that culminated in an overdose in 1999, which made me realize that I can't keep going this way. If I do, I'm going to die. So that's how I began the journey into discovering, like, what is it that got me here? That led me to discover the hidden problems that I had that I couldn't see. The mechanism of what I call the body mind, or the body mind machine, which is very mechanical in the way it functions and operates. Most of us are not aware of this. We don't learn about this in school. We're not educated by our parents about this. It's like we kind of just fumble through life without really understanding how this hardware and software of the human body mind system work. So I address some of that in that chapter, or that part of my chapter. And then we get into some further material to keep helping people utilize these maps, these frameworks, this understanding of who and what they truly are at their core, and then the mechanistic nature of the body mind machine and what they can do about that. Because as an entrepreneur, you got to have power, and there's reasons why we lose power, and we can get that power back, and we can actually target and use that power towards things that we want to see accomplished in our lives.
Yeah, and Vince, you know, there's so much literature that has been written about performance. You know, I myself go for high performance camps, right? Like you stay in there for a week, and then you wake up and you do a lot of exercises. You try to break your self-limiting beliefs and try to reframe your mind, etc., just to like get out from your old self. And you know, like Anthony Robbins is a big part of us when we grow up. And also he's got these big, massive stadium events in Singapore that people pay thousands of dollars just to get there. But I think what you give people is that, hey, you don't have to pay a $5,000 camp, because you could actually read something, and you're bringing something to a lot of people through the book that, hey, these are some of the things you can self-check, right? And you give us a lot of checklists. And I like your book because you gave us a lot of checklists, not in like as a checklist, like a shopping list, but there are a lot of checks that you can do yourself. And you don't have to fly to America to meet you, because you are bringing what you know already in the book. It's like a sneak peek to what you can give. And I like the part about limiting belief. And you talked about that a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit? So people who are not in this arena, not a lot of people go to Anthony Robbins, not a lot of people read about high performance. People just go through their lives. But I like that part about limiting beliefs. Tell us about your take on it in your book.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we talk about beliefs, we typically think of a more cognitively oriented structure, thoughts, how I think about things. But what I found in the many years of doing this work, over 22 years now, that it's not just mental. There is another level of belief, goes much deeper than just the mental. It goes into the emotional, it goes into the somatic, which means the feelings and sensations of the body itself.
Biological,
and the invisible effort impulses that seem to be automatically firing, these urges to survive. And without becoming aware of all four of those dimensions, the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings and sensations of the body, the somatics, I call it, and the efforts that are operational reactively and automatically and unconsciously, we're going to have a hard time changing our beliefs. You can change your thoughts, right? You can write things down and you can correct and reframe. And that's all very important. But what I found with a lot of people that I work with, especially trauma survivors, people who've been through very painful incidents and experiences like myself, that you can't just seem to change your mind alone. And there's a reason for this. So these limiting beliefs, they can run very deep. So before we're even linguistically capable, before we develop cognitive abilities at around 6, 7, 8 years old, we start really thinking in language and computing in language. We're still absorbing and experiencing information, and our body's computing, but it computes more at an emotional and somatic level. So there's more feelings and sensations and emotions that are happening, and they are recording, right? And there are conclusions that we're forming more emotionally and somatically. And even as early as in the womb, this is beginning to happen.
Yes.
And so for those of us who grow up in more difficult environments, like myself, where our parents are perfect, and no parents really are, but some of our parents are really dealing with some serious troubles and creating some serious trouble. It affects us at a level that we can't even see or understand intellectually or analytically. So those limiting beliefs have to be addressed in a very special way. And I've dedicated my life to helping people do that very gently, very efficiently, very easily.
And tell us about, how does that limit performance if you don't have a certain kind of belief, or you have a certain kind of belief for yourself in a business or entrepreneurial environment?
So many ways. So one of the things that I share in my book is rule number 1 about performance is that perception precedes performance. See, performance is governed our behavior. Let's say performance is our behavior and our ability to achieve specific results that we've set up, targets that we've set, and whether we're successful or not, and the degree to which we're successful or not is how we measure performance. And that could be based on anything, really, any data that we want to look at to measure our performance. But behavior, action, is driven by perception. And this is very important, because a lot of us try to modify our behavior without altering the underlying perceptions. And perception is made up of not just our thinking, but our feeling as well, our emotions, and various unconscious effort impulses that are already there in the body. And so as we explore this invisible realm, this hidden world of our real problems, where problems really originate, we can then start to shift the way we perceive things. So for example, if I see a rose and I'm like, wow, rose is beautiful, my performance or my behavior related to the rose might be like, I might want to grab that rose, smell that rose, touch the petals, who knows? But if somebody hates roses and they see that, their behavior towards the rose could be different. They're definitely not going to go near it. They're not going to want to touch it. They're going to be avoiding it, perhaps. Same in relationships. When we see someone and we have a perception of them that's like kind and loving, and I feel good around that person, we're kind of drawn to that person. We want to hang out with the person. We're more likely to do things with that person. If not, we might avoid them.
Sure. And let me interject, because this is so powerful and so interesting. You know, I'm looking at the application to an entrepreneur, right? We're talking about relationships, perception. Now, if you are an entrepreneur, you need to have this contract. You need to get the contract with the customer, but the customer is giving you hell, is making your life difficult. How would you be able to reframe that using what you have in order to change your perception about, hey, I'm going to repel from this person. I'm not going to answer the emails because whenever the name comes up, it's going to give me a feeling, right? Because you have that kind of perception, like, hey, I'm not going to go because this person is like someone I hate, but yet I need to get that contract. And I need to engage the person. Now, as an entrepreneur, you do face this. You don't only face the customers, you face suppliers, your employees, your competitors, your environment. Now, how would we use what concepts that you have, that little concept, to apply it to me as an entrepreneur? For example, in a situation with a very difficult customer, when an email pops up, or when I need to engage the person and sell my goods to the person.
Yeah. So a big part of my work is transforming and shifting and dissolving the automatic reactivity of the body-mind system. And so the way we would do that in addressing this particular situation is, first and foremost, is never invalidate what you feel and what you're experiencing. In fact, we want to open up to it even more. And what is it that's opening up to it? So what I work with is the awareness that a person is, essentially. We think we are our thoughts, our actions, our activities, but actually the awareness is the most fundamental unit of consciousness. That's what I play with. So I help you, in your case of this example that you're giving, let's say, I would invite the person to first become aware of what they're feeling in their body. Most of us are rather disconnected from our body. We kind of just ignore our body. And there's a lot of reasons why we do that. But by becoming aware of what's going on in the body and just honoring it. Now, I notice I'm feeling this resistance. My chest is tightening up around thinking about talking to this person or dealing with it. I'm just going to welcome that sensation.
Yeah.
Feel into it a little bit, honor that space. And what we can do is start to discharge the tension, the contraction. That contractive energy is going to alter the way we perform. It's going to change the way we speak. If we're talking to that person, they're going to hear that, they're going to feel that. And they're going to respond differently to us because we're feeling kind of tight or angry or frustrated. So the first thing is not make ourselves wrong for how we feel or how we're reacting, but just honor it because we can't help the reaction. The reaction's automatic. So we got to be gentle and compassionate with ourselves first. And once we do that process and we release some of that charged energy, that tension and contraction, expansion in the space is there. There's a whole, our mind changes. We start thinking differently. When the body's contracted, hurt, fearful, the way we start thinking is in a more survival oriented mode. And we start reacting defensively or attack wise, right? Or we want to freeze or hide. And all of that alters our performance dramatically. But when we release the body and the emotions, we then our mind is freed up to think more intelligently. We're likely to make better decisions. The way we transmit ourselves in communication is going to be better. We're going to be more free to take action. We're not going to be operating in resistance over our body's tension, which a lot of people are doing. And that's creating a tremendous amount of illness in the world, especially in the industry of entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of stress. So what we do is relieve a lot of stress in the system so that you can behave the way that you've decided that you're going to, the agreements you've made, and do that with effortlessness and ease and freedom and even joy.
And when you talked about communication, I did, some intensive courses on NLP, Neuro Programming Linguistics. It did help to a certain extent, but for what you would prescribe right now, like for an entrepreneur, myself, like if I've got to go into a meeting and I'm kind of like nervous and I'm supposed to make a pitch, like I'm gonna I need to get this biggest contract. What would you say to me that can achieve that high performance and that unstoppable success at the end?
Great question. First thing is, the more relaxed we are, the more space we have as awareness to choose correctly, to choose what's going to make the biggest difference. We can think more clearly. We're not under stress and resistance. So the first thing I would have you do is bring your right hand to your heart physically and your left hand to your lower abdomen, just being with your body, with your hands and feeling inward and starting to honor that disease that you might have, like that discomfort, the sense of urgency, and just welcome it, allow it, the fear, and really be comforting that. Because the more we try to get rid of it, the more it seems to stay. What it really needs is a loving, compassionate attention being given by ourselves. And when we do that, we can start to relax the body. We can start to be a little bit more at ease. And the brain is going to have a lot more freedom to deliver that speech or the message. It's going to feel more comfortable. And more connecting, more confidence, right? More presence with the audience. Because when you're in fear, you're contracting, and so you're not radiating. So when you want to be an influence to humanity, you want to make sure they're feeling your presence and your care, and that you understand them. And so the more energetically transmissive you are, the more likely they are to be connected with you. And if you're in fear and contracted, you're not transmitting to them anymore. So communication starts to break down. There's a gap between you and the audience. It doesn't work very well, as you probably know.
So ladies and gentlemen, that's Vince Bellito, either left or the right. But Vince, so I'm waiting for your #1 best-selling book. So this is just a sneak peek to what you can offer, but and I'm serious with that because
Thank you.
That's why I think you've got lots to offer, and that the book or your chapter is really just a sneak peek. And I'm saying that because you've got so much to offer, and I totally agree with you because that's what I believe too. The contracting energy, And
Yes.
when you go, even when you go into a room, people can feel that, you know, or
That's
when you
right.
go into a room and you're emanating, you're shining, the people can feel that too, because you are just, every cell of your being is just energized. You're just telling every cell in your body, like the billions and the trillions of cells, this is how you should think, or this is how you should feel, you know, and then immediately you switch to a different mode. And I totally believe what you do. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a very powerful chapter. And the book, Gold Nuggets for Entrepreneurs, is a non-profit endeavor by the 11 of us, the authors. And I think it's going to be one of the many, many books that's going to come out. But Vince, I am waiting for your #1 best-selling book, you know, in New York Times. So this is just like for you to have your coffee and, you know, you're writing some words for the book. You know, I thank you for being part of us and participating in this project. Ladies and gentlemen, watch out for Vince Bolito and also the Inner Core Academy. The
Coaching Academy, yes.
The Inner Coaching Academy, his book and what he can offer. Tell the viewers and potential readers, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank Vicky for that. The Inner Coaching Academy, I'm sorry, innercoachingacademy.com is the website. And our flagship program is called The Core Encounter. And that's where we train people on how to do this work over a period of 6 months. There's 3 parts, 7 weeks each. And we cover 3 dimensions: core connection, core communication, and core creation. So people learn how to deal with themselves powerfully and effectively, regulate their nervous system, create that space and safety, deal with relationships powerfully and effectively, and then create their goals and dreams from also creating that clear space within. Because a lot of times, I mean, most of the time, it's really we're blocking ourselves. I say transformation and success is created from the inside out.
Yes.
This is our game.
I totally agree with that. And the thing is that a lot of people are not able to break free from themselves because they are the ones dropping themselves and they don't even know it. You know, I hope that I could have brought this message to my students when I was in school, because I you know, thousands of students have gone through my hands. I wished I could have given that information, but you know, a lot of us go through life or go through learning process without even knowing some of these very important concepts about ourselves. You know, and at the end, you just regurgitate what you have learned when you were young with the information that's given to you either by your parent or by your teacher. So
we have a lot of students that are very disconnected from themselves emotionally, intellectually. There's a lot of conflict. They're suppressing a lot of their own inner experiences, and it's a breeding ground for anxiety and depression, and why so many young kids now are on medications and basically addicted to psychotropic drugs, because that's their only way to cope with things in life, because they're just not aware of what's going on internally. And so I've made it my mission to bring the light inward, help them see for themselves, empower them to handle what they haven't been able to handle, so they don't need to toxify their system and be addicted to a medication. The most mental challenges and illnesses can be handled through this type of work very well. And I've been doing it for years, and it's just beautiful, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Vince. So you heard it from Vince himself. The book, I think you should buy the book just because of Vince. So Vince, you should tell everyone this is just your prelude to the big best-selling hit that people are awaiting, right? So should I wait for that in 2023? So Vince, thank you.
If you're on top of me making it happen like you were for this one. So
yeah, I mean, we sometimes need to just sit down and really just, you know, just sit down and do it. Writing a book, you need to go into a space to really quieten down your mind and to get into that. So,
and you're a wonderful inspiration and motivation for making it happen. I really acknowledge you, and thank you so much for pulling this forth out of me. It's very potent. I mean, I put together like 30 something pages, and I've put the best of what I've got in there. Like, these are real practical, this is not a sales pitch or anything. These are real tools that people use every day inside of my work to get free. So they're very empowering.
And also, you know, the objective of the book, because it's an educational book, it's non-profit. Of course, people can buy it on Amazon eventually at cost. But I would say that our aim is to touch lives. And if anyone can get a concept, a precept from any one of the authors and from Vince, I think we are successful. It's really about helping a person. Even a concept that they can remember. Oh, in the book, I remember someone said this and this. I remember in the book, there's Vince Belito, and he said this, and I do remember that. And I think that's the success we're looking for, Vince.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I live for serving, and my mantra is empowerment and life expansion for humanity worldwide. I've dedicated my life to helping as many people as possible before I leave Earth. It's the only game worth living for, I believe.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So you're a purpose-driven person, Vincent, and I like to work with people who are purpose-driven. We don't want to just live with, going shopping or going for travel. It makes life meaningful when we have a purpose in every single thing that we do, in every meeting, in every speech, in every conversation, in every project. I mean, it's all about, that speed of life we're talking about. We are actually really just competing with time. How much can we achieve within this useful lifespan? And I keep telling my friends, how many more useful 10 years have we got on Earth? We can't live like we've got another 100 years. Every day is a challenge. Every day you try to accomplish something. So I like to work with you, Vince. Thank you so much for being together in this space. I hope that we could have a speaker tour in the future to sell the book. One day, have an international global tour. Let's try to make it happen with sponsors. So that's going to be our next objective, 2022. We'll talk about that. Thank you so much, Vince, for being in Singapore, and Singapore welcomes you. It is 11:48 a.m. here, 12 of November 2022. Just like a few days short of our anniversary for the International Summit. It was such an important summit for everyone, with so much positive energy that came together online, and people were viewing. There were 5.8 thousand live views on. Can you imagine, like, people just looking at the handphones with some part of the world just looking at you that time, and then just typing in with the questions and all? I think we're successful in that sense, because we have achieved the kind of business forum, right, that the international public is interested to be part of and being live with them. So ladies and gentlemen, we've achieved something, and Vince, definitely I'd like to thank you for bringing your positive thoughts and your energy into our space. Thank you, Vince. So you can find him there. Please, because this is a podcast, you can always click and then rewind, replay, and review for where to find him. So Vince, thank you. I'll talk to you. So we are connected in this global world, in this digital world. Thank you, and I'll talk to you. So ladies and gentlemen, come back in our next phase of marketing and publicity, and then you can come on to talk to Vince again. Bye. All the best to you.
Bye.